I want you to picture this. You're standing at the edge of everything you've ever known, and everything feels uncertain. Maybe you're feeling lost, confused, or like you've been running in circles. But here's the thing, that very feeling, that sense of deep unease, is often the first sign that you're on the brink of something massive. A spiritual breakthrough. You see, before every major shift in our lives, there's this tension, this energy that builds up inside us. It's almost like the calm before the storm, but with a different twist. Instead of a storm that wreaks havoc, this storm will clear everything that no longer serves you. The chaos, the confusion, the discomfort, these are not signs that you're failing. They're actually signals. Like the rumble of thunder before the rain, they tell you that something big is coming.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Now let's get real for a moment. Have you ever felt like you were on the verge of giving up? Maybe you've been feeling like you've hit a wall in your spiritual journey, like you're stuck in a rut with no way out. That feeling, as frustrating as it is one of the clearest signs that a breakthrough is near. Why? Because the hardest challenges always come right before the biggest shifts. It's like when you're climbing a mountain, and the path gets steeper and more treacherous the closer you get to the summit. You're exhausted, your legs are burning, and every part of you wants to stop. But the summit, the peak, is just beyond that last push. So here's a question for you. Do you feel like you're being tested right now? Like the universe is throwing everything at you, all at once? If you do, I want you to lean into that feeling. Don't shy away from it. This is your moment. The tension, the pressure, the trials, they're all refining you, preparing you for the next level. Think of this as the final exam before you graduate into a higher state of being. Let me tell you a story. There was once a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. A man, watching the butterfly struggle, decided to help. He carefully cut the cocoon open, thinking he was doing the butterfly a favor. But what he didn't realize was that the struggle was necessary. It was through pushing against the cocoon that the butterfly would strengthen its wings to fly. By removing the struggle, the man had condemned the butterfly to a life without flight. You are that butterfly. The pressure, the struggle, the tension, it's all preparing you to soar. And just like the butterfly, you can't skip this process. You can't rush it. You have to go through it, feel it, live it. Because that's where your wings are being formed. But here's the thing, spiritual breakthroughs don't always come with fireworks and fanfare. Sometimes they whisper. Sometimes they come in moments of stillness after the storm. You might be expecting some grand sign, but often the breakthrough happens in the quiet moments when you least expect it. It's like the dawn after the darkest night. The sun rises slowly, almost imperceptibly, but suddenly everything is illuminated. So, what kind of signs should you be looking for? One of the most common signs is that people or things start leaving your life. It's almost as if the universe is clearing space for something new. It can feel painful, disorienting, even unfair. But trust me, this is a part of the process. What's leaving your life is making space for what needs to come in. It's like pruning a tree. You cut off the dead branches to make room for new growth. It might not make sense in the moment, but in time you'll see why it had to happen. And here's another question for you. What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Is there a relationship, a habit, or even a belief that's been weighing you down? Sometimes we cling to things out of fear of the unknown, fear of change. But in reality, Those things are what's keeping us from moving forward. Your breakthrough can't happen until you let go. The next sign is a bit more subtle but powerful. The way you perceive time changes. Have you ever noticed how, when you're deeply focused or in a state of flow, time seems to move differently? It's like minutes turn into hours, or hours feel like minutes. This happens because, as you approach a spiritual breakthrough, you start aligning more with your higher self, with the divine flow of the universe. Time, as we know it, becomes less rigid, and you begin to experience moments of timelessness. But this is where things get really interesting. As you move closer to your breakthrough, you'll start experiencing synchronicities, those moments where everything just seems to align perfectly. Maybe you've been thinking about someone, and they suddenly call you. Or you've been contemplating a decision, and out of nowhere, you get a sign that confirms what you've been feeling. These synchronicities aren't coincidences, they're the universe's way of guiding you, reminding you that you're on the right path. But here's the catch: you have to be open to seeing them. You have to be paying attention. The signs are always there, but if you're too caught up in the noise of your mind, you'll miss them. So here's another question: are you truly paying attention to the signs around you? Or are you stuck in your head, worrying about things that are out of your control? As you move deeper into this journey, you might also notice that your dreams become more vivid. This is because your subconscious mind is working overtime, processing all the shifts and changes happening within you. Pay attention to these dreams. They're often packed with symbols and messages that can give you insight into what's happening on a deeper level. Now, I want you to think about where you are right now, in this very moment. Are there things in your life that feel out of alignment? Are there areas where you're feeling resistance? If so, take a deep breath and recognize that this tension is a sign that you're about to break through. You're being stretched, just like that butterfly in the cocoon, because something incredible is about to emerge. But here's the thing: you can't force it. You can't rush the process. A spiritual breakthrough isn't something you can schedule or control. It's something you surrender to. It's about allowing yourself to be cracked open, to be vulnerable, to trust that even in the discomfort, you're being guided towards something bigger, something better. So let me ask you, are you willing to trust the process? Are you willing to let go of the need to control every step and simply allow yourself to be guided? Because that's the key. The moment you release your grip, the moment you surrender to the flow, that's when the breakthrough happens. Now that we've uncovered the signs leading up to a spiritual breakthrough, let's dive into the awakening that happens when you finally step into that moment. This is the part where you begin to realize something profound: you are more than you ever thought you were. You're not just the person who's been walking through life, facing challenges and trying to figure things out. You're something infinitely greater, deeper, and more powerful. But to truly understand this, you have to let go of the limited version of yourself that you've been clinging to for so long. Let me ask you something: when was the last time you felt like you were truly in your element? Like everything around you was clicking into place? That alignment you felt in that moment, that's not a fluke, that's your true self shining through. But the problem is, most of us only experience these moments in brief flashes. Why? Because we're constantly holding ourselves back. We're playing small, living out the stories we've been told about who we are, instead of stepping into the truth of who we could be. This is where the real breakthrough happens, not when the external circumstances of your life change, but when you change your internal perspective. You start to see yourself not as a limited being, but as an expansive, limitless soul that's capable of far more than you've ever imagined. And that shift, it changes everything. One of the first signs that you're stepping into this awakening is that you stop seeking external validation. Think about it. How much of your life has been spent trying to get approval from others, your parents, your friends, your colleagues, even people you don't know? We all do it. We all do it. We chase after compliments, achievements, and recognition because we're taught that our worth comes from the outside. But when you're on the verge of a spiritual breakthrough, something shifts. You begin to realize that the only validation you need is from yourself. You stop looking outward for approval and start looking inward for truth. And here's the deep question I want you to ponder: who are you when no one is watching? When you're not performing for the world, when you're not trying to fit into someone else's expectations, who are you at your core? Because that's your true self. That's the version of you that's waiting to be unleashed. And that's the version of you that a spiritual breakthrough reveals. As you awaken to this truth, you'll also notice that fear starts to lose its grip on you. Now, I'm not saying that fear disappears completely. It's a natural part of being human. But something changes in the way you handle it. Fear no longer paralyzes you. Instead, it becomes a guide. You begin to understand that fear is just a signpost, showing you where you need to grow. Every time you feel fear, you know that it's an opportunity to step into a new version of yourself. Think about that for a moment. What would you do if fear didn't hold you back? What dreams would you chase? What risks would you take? The awakening that comes with a spiritual breakthrough is about realizing that fear is not a wall. It's a door. And on the other side of that door is the version of you that's been waiting to come alive. But here's the thing: this awakening doesn't mean that everything suddenly becomes easy. In fact, it's often the opposite. When you start living as your true self, you might face even more challenges because the world around you is used to the old version of you. People might resist your growth. Situations might test your resolve. But here's the key difference: you'll face these challenges with a new sense of power. You'll no longer feel like a victim of your circumstances. Instead, you'll understand that every challenge is an opportunity for expansion. It's like this: imagine you've been living in a house your whole life, but one day you find a hidden door that leads to a vast, open landscape. At first, stepping outside feels overwhelming. The space is immense, and you don't know where to go. But as you start exploring, you realize that this open space represents your true potential. The house you were living in, that was your old self, your limited beliefs, your comfort zone. And now, you've stepped into something far greater. But here's another deep question for you. Are you ready to leave the comfort of that house? Are you ready to step into the unknown, knowing that it's where your greatest growth lies? Because that's what this awakening asks of you. It asks you to be bold, to let go of the familiar, and to trust that the vastness of your potential is where you're meant to be. As you awaken to this new understanding, you'll also notice that your relationships start to shift. Some people will naturally begin to fall away, while others will enter your life seemingly out of nowhere. This is because, as you step into your true self, you're no longer vibrating at the same frequency as the people who were part of your old story. You're attracting new experiences, new connections, and new opportunities that align with the person you're becoming. But this isn't always easy. Sometimes the people closest to you won't understand your growth. They might even try to hold you back, not out of malice, but because they're afraid of losing the version of you they've always known. And this is where another test of your breakthrough comes in. Can you stay true to your growth, even when others don't support it? Can you love them and let them go, knowing that your journey is taking you in a different direction? This is a tough one. It requires a level of courage and self-love that most people aren't used to. But remember, a spiritual breakthrough is about stepping into your highest potential, and sometimes that means walking a path that others can't follow. The beauty of this, though, is that as you walk your path, you'll inspire others to do the same. Your courage will become a light for those who are still stuck in their limited selves. And here's something else that happens during this awakening: you become more present. You stop living in the past or worrying about the future, and you start experiencing life in the now. This might sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Most of us spend our lives either regretting what's happened or fearing what's to come. But when you step into your true self, you realize that the only moment that truly exists is this one, right here, right now. So let me ask you, are you truly present in this moment? Or are you stuck in the past, reliving old stories, or projecting yourself into a future that hasn't happened yet? The present moment is where your power lies. It's where your breakthrough happens. The more you can bring yourself into the now, the more you'll experience the fullness of who you are. And that's what this awakening is all about. It's about realizing that you are not your past. You are not your fears. You are not the limited version of yourself that you've been living as. You are infinite potential, pure consciousness, and divine energy in human form. And the moment you truly understand that, everything changes. So, I want you to take a deep breath and feel the truth. You are more than you've ever believed. You are on the verge of something incredible, something life-changing. The signs are all around you. The question is, are you ready to step into it? So here we are, standing at the edge of something extraordinary. You felt the tension, the stirring deep within you. You've recognized the signs, the shedding of old relationships, the internal shift, the pull towards something greater. But now we come to the hardest part of all, embracing the unknown. This is the moment where everything you've been working toward, every struggle, every sleepless night, every doubt, and every fear comes to a head. It's the final push before your spiritual breakthrough becomes your reality. But let me ask you, are you ready? Are you truly ready to let go of everything you thought you knew, to step into a place where nothing is certain, but everything is possible? This is the paradox of a spiritual breakthrough. For all the signs and signals that you're about to experience something profound, the actual moment of breakthrough often comes when you least expect it. It's not something you can predict or plan for. In fact, the more you try to control it, the further away it seems. This is why embracing the unknown is so crucial. The breakthrough doesn't happen when you hold on tight. It happens when you finally let go. But here's the truth: letting go is terrifying. Our minds are wired to seek certainty. We want to know what's coming next, to have a plan, to feel like we're in control. But the spiritual path doesn't work that way. It requires surrender. It requires trust in the process, trust in the universe, and most importantly, trust in yourself. So what does it mean to embrace the unknown? It means stepping into a space where the old rules no longer apply. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, not knowing whether you'll fall or fly, but choosing to step forward anyway. It's about recognizing that the path ahead won't always be clear, but trusting that each step you take will reveal the next. Think about it like this: when you're driving at night, your headlights only illuminate a small part of the road ahead. You can't see the entire journey, but you trust that as you keep moving, the road will continue to reveal itself. The same is true on the spiritual path. You don't need to see the whole picture. You just need to trust that as you take each step, the path will unfold before you. But here's the question: can you take that step, even when you don't know where it's leading? Can you trust that the universe is guiding you, even when the way forward seems shrouded in darkness? This is the final test before the breakthrough. It's the moment where you have to release everything: your fears, your doubts, your need for control, and step into the unknown with nothing but faith. And here's the beautiful part: when you do that, when you finally surrender, the universe meets you halfway. Doors that you didn't even know existed begin to open. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly appear. And that's when the breakthrough happens, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. Let me tell you a story. There's an ancient parable about a man who was caught in a flood. As the waters rose higher and higher, he climbed to the roof of his house, praying for a miracle. A boat came by and offered him help, but he refused, saying, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Then a helicopter came by, but again the man refused, saying, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Eventually, the waters rose so high that the man drowned. When he reached heaven, he asked God, "Why didn't you save me?" And God replied, "I sent you a boat and a helicopter." What more did you want? The lesson here is simple. Sometimes the answers we're looking for aren't going to come in the way we expect. Your breakthrough might not look the way you imagined, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. The universe is always guiding you, always offering you help. But you have to be open to seeing it. You have to be willing to embrace the unknown, to trust that even when things don't go according to your plan, they're still going according to a higher plan. And that's the key: trust. Trust that the universe has your back. Even when it feels like everything is falling apart. Trust that the challenges you're facing aren't there to break you, but to break you open. Trust that the unknown isn't something to fear, but something to embrace. But let's get real for a moment. How do you actually do that? How do you let go of the need for control when everything in your life is telling you to hold on tighter? The answer lies in presence. The more present you are in each moment, the less power fear has over you. Fear lives in the future. It thrives on the unknown. But when you're fully present, fear loses its grip. You're no longer worrying about what might happen. You're simply experiencing what is happening. So here's another question for you. How present are you in your life right now? Are you caught up in the what ifs, or are you fully engaged in the moment, trusting that whatever comes next will be exactly what you need? As you step into this final phase before your breakthrough, you might also notice an increase in synchronicities. These are moments where everything seems to align perfectly, where you feel like you're being guided by an invisible hand. You might see repeating numbers, encounter people who seem to appear out of nowhere with exactly the message you needed to hear, or experience a series of coincidences that feel too perfect to be random. These synchronicities are signs that you're in the flow, that you're on the right path, even if you can't see the full picture yet. But here's the thing: synchronicities don't just happen. You have to be open to them. You have to be willing to see them. The more you trust in the process, the more these signs will appear. It's like the universe is speaking to you, whispering, "Keep going. You're almost there." You might also start to feel a deep sense of peace, even in the midst of uncertainty. This is one of the most powerful signs that your breakthrough is near. It's that calm before the storm, but this time, the storm isn't something to fear. It's a storm of transformation, of awakening, of growth. You're being prepared for something bigger than you've ever imagined. But here's the catch: you have to be willing to let go of your old self to step into this new reality. The person you've been, the stories you've told yourself, the limitations you've placed on your potential, they don't belong in this new chapter. You have to be willing to release them, to step out of the box you've been living in and embrace the unknown. And that's the final push. It's not about doing more. It's not about working harder. It's about being more. It's about stepping into the truth of who you are, without fear, without hesitation, and with full trust that the universe is guiding you every step of the way. So, let me ask you one last question. Are you ready? Are you ready to let go of the old story and step into the unknown, knowing that your breakthrough is on the other side? Are you ready to trust that everything you've been through, every challenge, every doubt, every setback has been preparing you for this moment? Because here's the truth: you are ready. You've always been ready. The signs have been there all along, guiding you, nudging you, preparing you for this very moment. All that's left for you to do is take that final step, to embrace the unknown, to trust the process, and to step into the fullness of who you are. Your breakthrough is not just coming, it's already here. The question is, will you step into it? And if you do, I promise you, the view from the other side will be more beautiful, more expansive, and more awe-inspiring than anything you could have ever imagined. You are on the verge of something truly extraordinary. Trust it. Embrace it, and let it transform you.